Hello and welcome to this video about systemic constellation. Systemic constellation is a rather new concept for quite some people. And so we wanted to dedicate some time to share with you what we have found it to be and give a bit of more background of systemic constellation by video. Some of its benefits, where it originates, and how it looks like in practice, and especially with a focus on societal change and complex work. Before we dive into, just to maybe give a brief context of collective transitions and with who we work. Collective Transitions is an organization that focuses on the collective capacities that in our eyes are needed for shifting mindsets, beliefs, and deeply ingrained patterns. This not only on a family level or a community level or an organizational level, but also as cultures and humanity at large. We especially focus on how we can refine the how we do what we do, and therefore catalyzing more meaningful and long-term regenerative impact. Our work is informed by a living systems perspective, surfacing the underlying currents that influences people's thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. And we have a sense that when all stakeholders are able to see and experience themselves as a part of a larger whole, they're able actually to move more swiftly from a place of greater coherence and care with each other. And especially in these times of rather turbulences and a lot of patterns and old dynamics showing up, we see that this is one of the important aspects we want to bring focus to and help illuminate and create spaces. Especially also for organizations and leaders working in high complex fields of social and societal change and transformation, or community builders and activists on the ground. So a very warm welcome and an introduction to this tool, Systemic Constellation, that we are using as one of our core tools throughout all our work, day in, day out, basically. Systemic Constellation is based on a sense that everything is interrelated and interconnected. It's based on a sense that not only what is currently alive, but also that what was, so also talking about transgenerational dynamics, still has an effect of our today. It is working with the underlying implicit patterns and dynamics that are often unnoticed, but are actually having a deep effect and carry a deep information and message to our ways of being, doing, and interrelating with each other. It's based on the belief, we could say, that whatever is not found its right place and order in a larger system, being it in a family, an organization, or humanity at large, will want to be seen until it's seen by the system itself. And only then, if all parts, no matter if we like them or not, are recognized for truly what they are, can there be a new sense of coherence in the system, in the field. It works with the felt sense. So it's an embodied approach, not only to think in systems, but really feel what does one or the other element or the relationship between them feel like? How is it expressing itself? What is its deeper message? And how, if we listen more fully to it, can we maybe learn how to integrate it and work with it rather than we have to abandon it or expel it or cut it away and separate from? It's based on the idea that whatever is part of the system can never be excluded from it. So it's an approach of trying to balance and bring health to difficult relationships, to challenging relationships, and see what is the deeper need of each element to come into right balance in oneself as well in the others. The benefits of systemic constellation, and especially the purpose we are using it mainly for, is to offer it as a navigational tool. Complexity is a challenge for many people. Complexity is working with that what we don't know and be ready to respond in an instant in a way that is meaningful not only for ourselves in that very moment, but creating health on the long term for the whole system that is affected and interrelated with that very moment. In order to find our ways in this rather wild landscape, let's say, systemic constellation can be one of the tools to actually read the terrain, to read the signals, and to track what needs to be kept in sight and take into consideration when we make next moves. It's also a navigational tool for conflicts and finding ways to not resolve in the sense of making it gone, but to use it as a wise way to work with it and see what the conflict is actually inviting us, all members involved of a conflict, to grow and sharpen and expand. It's an invitation to see that we are on a learning journey together and how we can use conflicts in a constructive way to grow as an individual, as a team, and as an organization or community. Systemic constellation also holds the benefit of healing, of creating reconciliation, of creating deeper compassion of why actually someone or a situation has come as far as it came, and why certain pains have shown up again and again maybe. So it helps to create a healing setting and to include all the parts that need to be seen and understood more fully. And it's also a form of therefore creating systemic hygiene in a way, to not let things linger around for too long or fester and the wounds becoming deeper and deeper. And on a very practical basis, also relating to the first point I mentioned as a navigational tool, it's then actually how do we make decisions? We are faced with constant decisions on a smaller and larger scale on a daily basis. How can we, coming from an intentional place of really wanting to do the good decisions for us, but also the organization or the situation or the context we are part of, how can we take decisions that are including the different perspectives, the different angles, and the different realities that it may impact? So it's made for people who want to not only do good, but taking time to look also to the root causes and to the deeper dynamics that are at play, and to dare to work with them. Dare to face maybe places that are unknown, feeling uncertain, or maybe even scary. And it invites a group process. It's not just something we do on our own, in our own little rooms, but it's engaging others to help see together the larger picture that is actually at play. Its origins are actually found in the African continent, in the southeastern part where the Zulus are based. Hellinger, Bert Hellinger, who is an anthropologist, has actually lived and studied with them and has seen their way of resolving conflicts as communities. It is based on the understanding that if I have a conflict with my neighbor or my aunt, my uncle, my father, my husband, it is not just the problem between the two of us or between our families, but it actually shows that there is something deeper in the communal fabric that is calling for attention to be seen and brought back into healthy alignment again. So it comes from the place of knowing that if somewhere in a system, a community, something is bubbling up that doesn't feel healthy, like an argument, a conflict, or even someone falling sick, that it is the co-responsibility and the co-ownership of the whole community to come together and deeply listen what is there to be understood, where this misalignment or unhealth comes from, and then also what of maybe small steps, a few words of acknowledgement, maybe forgiveness, maybe just the eyes, I see you, to help resolve and discharge the charge that was in the system. And how does that work in practice? How is that process going? And how does it look like? First of all, this video is not meant to give you now a crash course about everything. So we just share a few little things. And the ones that we are using most oftenly for helping a certain situation or context. First of all, there is the in-person. Now with the whole situation over the past few weeks and months, of course, a lot of the work has also moved even more fully than ever before online. But let's start there with the in-person. It's the power of stepping into an element and becoming or representing an element in a system. So does someone else, third person, fourth person. And by stepping into a role, and of course you will have a very clear intention of every constellation and a clear guiding question, we then start to unfold how these elements that are core to this guiding question are in relation with each other. So it's the movement from dropping away what our mental knowing part knows, maybe even wants to analyze, and really activate our other ways of knowing, our felt senses, and really see what our body attitude, our maybe our eyes, our ears say. How do they move? The body may curl up or become even more bigger. There may be a sentence, and we just let unfold what is happening in that role as being another element. Core, of course, is that there is a facilitator, someone who guides through the process. And that in itself is a whole other topic and whole other art. Everyone can represent an element. And I have not seen someone who cannot do it. But it requires that I allow to drop into that space of not knowing, and in a way surrender for a moment and just see what this element wants to say in a way through me. And then step by step, hearing the different voices, we actually start to see a pattern emerging that we may were not conscious of, that we are surprised to, that actually this may be part of the root causes of a certain given situation, conflict, tension. So that's the in-person, where we all are in the same room. And then, of course, we can do the same, slightly a little bit different, when we are all in different places. But we have, for example, a PowerPoint slide open with different shapes and figures, and we can move them along and still stay connected with our body, with our felt sense, and tap into from there in the element I'm representing. But I'm making it visible of how I look, in which direction I look, to which person or other element I'm closest to, by making it visible on that online space that we are sharing, the movements that are happening in each element. And also here, a facilitator is of course guiding through through the process, and ensuring that the subtle movements or invitations can be made and spoken. And then there is the tabletop. That's when I'm either with myself or a few others, but maybe we don't have enough representatives to represent the core elements of a given situation. So we can take objects, being it stones, little pebbles, pieces of wood, toys, whatever you can find, basically, glasses, other kind of little furnitures, and you can put them up, being it on a table or on the floor, and sense into them what each of them has to say, how it wants to move, how it looks to the different other elements. And so, as a kind of little constellation on a smaller surface, you can actually also start to see the underlying dynamics, the underlying questions, and the underlying relationships that are at play in that given situation that you want to look and become more clear with and find new answers. What we have found through our work is that, especially in social change, a lot is stirring up, because we work with a lot of precious and intense movements and dynamics that are often ongoing since quite a while, if not maybe centuries. So it's quite, let's say, normal, even that's not wished and is not liked mostly, and not comfortable especially, that these deeper dynamics that are really old and that may have nothing to do with me directly, personally, in my life today, but with my work on that topic, want to find a sense of realignment, resolution, and especially being acknowledged. So this work of systemic constellation, we have found very important kind of guiding tool, helping us to see through the thick of issues and topics, dynamics, and especially also challenges. And we want to adapt it and are keep refining it. And Collective Transitions being also having an action research kitchen, it's the intention to keep on refining how this tool can come into a supportive way to social movements, societal transformation work, no matter in which sector, place, or at what scale. So we invite you to either contact us, be with us and be in that learning journey that we are all in together, to see how we can refine this tool, how it works and can be adapted to different contexts, and to refine especially also what I shared in the beginning of this short video, how we can emphasize our collective capacities to hold and be with complexity, and while moving through and finding our ways in that rather big jungle, stay aligned and create coherence in and among each other. Thank you for listening, being with us, and looking forward to meet you in one or the other way, online or in person.